Okay, so I showed how I wanted you to use the clipping masks, the layer masks here. Remember, you make the mask, and then you're going to be painting white or black onto the mask in order to reveal or hide elements from the pictures. So for us, that was the house, the guy's face, the bridge here. I had some other pictures open, but we're not going to worry too much about it right now. The other thing I want to talk about is blending methods and gradients. So I'm going to put a gradient, I think underneath everything right now. And I'm going to create a clipping mask on that gradient. But I want a black clipping mask because I want to hide everything for now. Yes, I am recording. Yep. So I hit Command I to turn that clipping mask black. Making sure you have that clipping mask selected. So I'll go through that again. So if I make a new layer, and then I click on the clipping mask button here, creates that clipping mask. Make sure you have it selected, right? You've got that outline on it. Command I inverts it so it's black, so you're hiding everything on it by default. Okay. Then come back over and select your layer, and this is how I want you to do the gradient. So we're going to grab our gradient tool, which is hiding under our paint bucket. There's a couple different kinds of gradients. Up here in the options bar, you can see the different ones. There's a linear gradient, so it just goes in a straight line, left to right. There's a circular radial gradient, so it does a gradient as a circle. There's this kind of angular gradient, sort of a Photoshop fun one. I kind of like it. It goes in a circle as well, but it's like the inverse of the radial one. So you see that hard line, and then makes a gradient all the way up to there. And then you've got, what is this, reflected and diamond. I'm going to use this one. Oops. All right, so stop zooming in, zooming out here. So what I'm doing is, oh yeah, and then you can, in order to be able to set the colors and stuff that you want, click here in the option bar, just click on that and you'll get a window open. There'll be a bunch of default gradient swatches, but you can also make your own. You make your own just by hitting new. It's going to just by default be whichever one you had selected. And then you can come over here and click on these colors to add your own colors. A bit more. If you want a new stop, like a new point in here to change color, you just click. Come in here and change the color. Add a few more colors here. And then we'll go. Right there. Oops, oh, that's right, it's white. All right. Okay, so these are gonna be my gradient colors. You can kind of move them. You see these little diamonds here, you can move those. That's the midpoint for the blending. So you can change it by default here if you want. So now I have my gradient. So if I just pull out, if I click and pull, so I'm holding my left mouse button down and just drag and drop. Actually, let's disable the layer mask real quick. You can see I get that kind of gradient, right? So I just click and pull. Oops. Click and pull, right? Click and pull, however you want to do it. Kind of create some fun gradients. So come back over to your layer mask. Now, by default, it's going to paint a black and white version of that on the layer mask, because layer mask is only black and white. But that, like, I can paint gradients on there if I wanted. So I could come switch over and just like this, and that will hide and reveal into differing effects. But your best option is going to be to start with, well, not your best, but the way that, that was interesting. All right, we'll just grab a paintbrush. The way that I would probably do it, I'm going to try to start with an all black layer mask, so it's all hidden. So I just made my brush really big and painted the whole layer mask black. And then I'm going to switch my colors, soften my brush quite a bit, make it still big, and then just kind of come in and figure out That's probably too much still too. You know, just find ways to reveal it, ways to kind of pull that in there. You know, you don't have to do much with it. If you do too much, it's gonna look bad. I've done too much already. So then you come back in, paint it out again. You know, just find ways. It's gonna depend on how you want yours to look. I might come back over here and grab my gradient tool again. Make it a little smaller. You know, I don't know. However you want to do it. Maybe I want the reflected one. It just adds a little color to it, right? And it's stuff that you can reveal and hide. You don't necessarily need to always show it. It's completely up to you, all right? But the reason we use this is because now I'm going to come in here to like one of these image layers that I've been doing, and I'm going to go up to the layer blending mode, which is this drop down right here. By default, it's set to normal, all right? So they're going to blend based on opacity. But let me zoom out and we can start going through these. There's a bunch of different kinds. Let's zoom in on his face here. So dissolve, it's kind of a nice effect. Darken, didn't really do much. Color burn, color burn's good. So see how the color burn looks? What it's doing is it's taking this layer and blending it differently based on the different options you select with the layer underneath it. Color burn just takes all the white and essentially makes it transparent. Okay, so you can use this to good effect with the gradient underneath it to get some really nice. Like I already really like that. Like I would clean it up probably a bit, but already I'm pretty happy with that. I might come into the house and do the same thing, or maybe just start going through linear burn, dark color. You know, just go through, mess with them. Lighten was kind of nice. Subtle, like for me with collages, I like subtlety. Not everybody does. Let's do color burn. There it is. There, so color burn's kind of nice. You know, just go through and play with them. There's a whole bunch. You can do luminosity, saturation. I mean, just experiment. All right, exclusion and difference are going to give you some interesting results the more you layer stuff. So if I had a lot more, like I'll duplicate this layer real quick. Oops. Duplicate layer, it's fine. So I'm going to move him around. Oops, not you. So let's move him around. So see how it's really changing quite a bit when you move it around even more, depending on the colors that are underneath it. But if we come to like exclusion, which is giving us like an inverted version, kind of put it in there a little bit more. I mean, just really play around. You know, experimentation is going to be the best thing you can do with this. It's like the Upside Down from Stranger Tales, or Stranger Things. Sorry.
What's that keyboard shortcut to adjust the brush?
The brushes? Okay, so it's Control and Option. So if you have the brush selected, Control and Option, and then if you click and drag to the left, you do the diameter of the brush. If you click and drag up and down, you do the hardness of the brush. Opacity, I don't remember what the shortcut is, but you can adjust the opacity up in the options bar up here. I'll have to look it up and double check what the opacity is. I'm just going to clean this up because I want to. So, yeah, so that's layer blending, and that's how I want you to use gradients. Are there any questions about that? The layer blending, there's no wrong way to do layer blending. It's just experimentation, okay? You need at least one layer blended differently than normal, okay? I'll go through and check your layers, so have at least one that is something else. But play around, all right? Have fun with it. It's not meant to be difficult. It's just meant to be fun. This is experimentation, all right? Okay, any questions? Everybody's good? All right.